Hi, I'm David from Sanda Pool Systems. In the last video we ran over adding editing chemical and I showed you how to go about doing that. Now I'll just recap that quickly because it's important that you understand this for the topic we're going to cover today. So to add edit chemical, we simply click add edit chemical. That will pop up the form, which is searchable by the drop down box. We can pick up the various chemicals on our system and you can see if you haven't got a chemical added or whatever. Okay, so that's how we do that. In today's video we're going to cover adding of a test parameter. Now in the previous video I explained that you have to have a chemical for a parameter. Not every chemical has to have a test parameter, but every test parameter has to have a chemical. So we'll add it. I'll open the test parameter form. I've made the video smaller so the forms are opening in the middle of the screen and I'm dragging them down into the video capture box so that you can see it better. Okay, so this is a test parameter screen, which can look a little bit confusing at first. It's not as bad as it looks. So the first part is, what test is it? So in this case, free available chlorine is what we're focused on. Test order is a notional order of typically where it would appear on when you click to do a water test for a client. I like to test my free available chlorine first. It's helpful if you note the numbers down manually when you're setting up new parameters. Lovibond test code is future proofing. At the moment the communications with the Lovibond photometer is still under development. How that will work is the test code will come through from the Lovibond photometer and we'll pick that up in this form by simply having a button to associate the code that came in with the test that we want to tie to it. The correction direction is really which direction do you want to go, raise or lower. Text introduction. Okay, so the text introduction is the part that appears before the calculation of the chemical quantity. So in this case we would say please add, and if as it would appear in a sentence, it would be please add 500 mils pool liquid chlorine to the pool without dilution. I misread that. So the first part, the text introduction, is what appears before the weight or the volume and the chemical name. So as I said, please add X mils pool liquid chlorine. You could have add, broadcast, whatever you want. You can just type in there, please add at dusk. Suggested to add at dusk because that sort of makes some sense. I want to get the highest chlorine content in there overnight whilst there's no sun on it, so I'm not losing anything to ultraviolet. Whatever you type in here will appear on the report. So these are your parameters. As they're set up, you can tie different chemical to different parameters. Said there's your chemical list. But as I said, not every parameter has to have a chemical associated with it. So if we search down our test parameters, we'll notice that some of the salts are missing. I was mucking around earlier and deliberately deleted some. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a new salt. So we're going to add, just check which one I've got, salt 3750. So I'm going to add salt 3750. Now the reason I call the test salt 3750 is because I've got various strengths of salt. Salt 2000, 3000, 3750, 3500, 4000, 5000, so on. To distinguish one test parameter from another and one salt strength from another, I use the name salt 3750. You could have some other name if you wanted to choose to do so. I'm going to make the test order 9 because I don't know what the test order is. There is a limitation in the software. The maximum number of tests you can set up is 10. Correction direction is to raise, and I'm going to say open add 150 kilos of salt 3750 by opening the bag and pouring in the content over the floor generally, and throw the bag away, but not. Now when this prints out on the report, it will print out that add 140 kilos of salt 3750 by opening the bag and putting it in, pouring in the content over the floor generally, and throw the bag away but not in the pool. That's how I want that to show up, so I'm happy with that. So I just click update and close. Now I've added the salt 3750 parameter to the test parameter set, so I'll go back in, grab the form and drag it down for you, going to throw salt 3750, and there it is. Now it's possible you may want to test for a parameter that's not got a chemical yet, so I've deliberately removed some parameters. I'm going to put sulfate in. I'll make that test 8, make the correction direction lower. I'm going to say pour. The chemical I'm going to associate with it is sulfate remover, which is not in the list. Because it's not in the list, it'll pop up this warning telling you that new chemicals cannot be added here. Would you like to be redirected to the appropriate form? You click yes, and it will pop up the chemical form like we've seen before with sulfate remover already added. Alright, so I'm going to just go ahead and set that up. It's a made up chemical. Well, it's made up in this country. It lowers 150 mil, say, lowers by say 0.1. Update and close. Now it's accepted that sulfate remover has been added to the list. You can see it's at the bottom. So wait 3 or more hours. Going to say this is one of those chemicals where you add a calculated quantity, you wait and test and confirm before you move on. In this case, wait 3 or more hours and retest. That's how you would go about setting up a new test parameter from scratch, if that's what you wanted to do. That concludes this video, which shows how to set up test parameters. As I mentioned previously, you can have as many chemicals as you want, but any test parameter must have a chemical associated with it. If it doesn't, as you just saw, what will happen is it will default to warn you that you need to set up a new chemical for that parameter and let you do that as well. Hope that has been helpful to you. Thanks for watching.